Hello, Cherries, and welcome to Live Cherry Sunday, episode 264. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to create chord progressions using relative and parallel minor for soloing. And this is going to be really, really cool because it's going to make your chord progressions way more interesting, and everybody wants to be more interesting when they're soloing, right? So we're going to get right to it. But it is Super Bowl Sunday today, and I'm curious to know, who do you have in the big game? My team's not in it, so I'm really sad about that, but should be a good game nonetheless. And where are you watching from? Because right here in Brooklyn, New York, it's 11 degrees outside, but it's like a toasty 80 degrees, it seems, in here with my uncontrollable heat risers that get really hot. So anyway, here we go. And one last question for you is, how do you create interesting chord progressions? Let me know in the comments or in the chat here. So I have a little loop here that I created. Actually, I have 3 loops that I created, and you're going to hear them. I'm just going to improvise over them, and then we're going to break them down and get right to it. So here we go. Check it out. Hopefully you could hear me, because last week was kind of didn't really work out too well. But hopefully that you can hear my guitar and my voice. Let me know when you can. All right, here we go. Let's rock. So if you're enjoying that so far, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, give you a round of applause. Seems like everything is going good here today, on the stream. Like I was saying, last week was a total show, and I had to stop the live because nobody was hearing. It was like some weird, I listened back and it was some weird sound that wasn't coming through. And thankfully somebody was pointed out that there was a problem with that there. And so let me know if you could hear me okay and everything's good. And that'll be great. So, okay. So the whole idea here is, let's go over to the screen right here. And that's what we're looking at right there. We're looking at a nice little graph with the C major scale and the chords that relate to it, the relative minor, A minor, and the parallel minor. And Jeffrey Boyle is out here saying that it sounds good, so I'll give you a round of applause. Thank God for that, because last week was, I think I noticed that you commented on the post after saying something about Earth to Floyd or something like that. And I was like, oh, so I listened to it, and it was basically what you described right there. So I had to redo it. My live, I started at 1 o'clock. I went and did it. And the recording came out okay, but still something was changed and something was weird. I had to reset everything. I totally reset everything, so we're good. So anyway, we're going to back off on this for a second right here and just kind of start with the major scale right here, which is the very basis of everything that we're doing, especially in this, what we're doing here today. Now I'm doing it in this position right here. I'm doing the C major scale right about here. So we got C, It's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All natural notes, no flats, no sharps, but none of that stuff really matters. You could do this in any key, just shifting the positions, essentially. So the idea is just to hear that major scale. Now, knowing that each chord is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you see on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1 again, at the bottom. Which is great for the Nashville or the numbering system. It's because the C, then you have chords. Okay, so each note has a chord related to it. So a C major, a D minor, an E minor, an F major, a G major, an A minor, a B diminished, back to C again. Now this B diminished right here, you can play it like this. It's kind of hard to play it like that right there. Check it out. So I added B minor 7 flat 5 right there. Just a minor note. It's a little easier to play than this right here. But I didn't play any other 7th chord, so I wanted to just keep it basic. It's a B diminished. I could just play it like this. Right there, that's good enough. So you got C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. Back to C. So those are all basic chords. Now this first progression that I played, I just made up this progression. It's a 1, 4, 5. And it's like this. C chord for 2 bars. Then I went to the F 4 chord for 2 bars. Then I went to G for 2 bars. Back to C. Excuse me. And you can play the C major scale over this whole thing. I mean, come on. How simple can you get? That's the whole basis of music right here. We're C major, 1, 4, 5, and there's a ton of progressions you can come up with in this chord system right here, 1 through 7. That was just 3 of them that I chose. But here you could do anything you want with that, really. So we're going to get into something interesting, the relative minor, and then what is the most interesting thing, more interesting thing is the parallel minor. But I feel like we have to go in order here, so let's just go back here for 1 second. Have a sip of some coffee because, you know, it is coffee o'clock somewhere. I know it's beer o'clock somewhere out there, but what are you drinking out there today? I have my Italian espresso. You know, I didn't really even drink coffee for like 2 weeks because I was sick, and I'm still just getting over it. And I don't crave coffee at all when I've got like flu type symptoms. But I'm back. I'm off the wagon, off the coffee wagon. So here we go. So I'm coughing. But when I'm not sick, I love the coffee. I love it. I love it a lot. So, but some phlegm is building up though. And Jeffrey says, I saw another live stream that had a similar problem. I thought it was an experimental electronic music, but that wasn't the case. No, I mean, I don't really do that experimental music. Although, I think the most experimental music I did was at a band called Buku Karma and a band called Cranial Splash in the mid-90s that we got kind of experimental with, and have to play some of that stuff sometime. Songs throughout my life. Okay. So, all right, we're going to get right to it. We had our coffee sip. One more sip. Why not? Enjoying some coffee on a Sunday afternoon. And what are you drinking out there today? So let's go back to here now. Now let's kick in this second graph here. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. Kick in the second graph. Relative minor. Now, don't let this scare you. All this is A minor. Starting, so if you go back to the key of C, good band name, Buku Karma. Yeah, or Cranial Splash. Both of them, huh? Key of C, if you look at the 6th chord, A minor, that is the relative minor of C. So we're starting at A minor as the 1 now. So now you can look at it two different ways. You can look at the C major scale right there, and then you can look at the relative minor, which is A minor. So at first, I was in C. See, the 4 chord, the 5 chord. Now, all of these are the same keys. They share the same flats and sharps, which is zilch, none in this key. So really, it's really one key, but it's a relative minor key. And you can look at it like its own thing completely, which is really cool. So instead of looking at it like the 6th chord, okay, which you can in a progression that's in C, based in C, if I went to the 4 chord, then went to the 5 chord, then went to the 6th chord, and ended up back on C. Then that would be a 1, 4, 5, 6 chord progression. But if you have a progression that starts on A minor, like why not call it 1? Because now it's a new thing. It's now the 1 chord, okay, which is great to look at it like this because it's a really interesting way of thinking about music because there's modes and there's stuff you could do with it where you want to kind of think about, you know, the chords as its own tonic. Okay, so now that's a good word for it, tonic. This A minor now is the tonic of the key of the relative natural minor. And hello, Robbie H. Love. Give you a round of applause. So good to see you. Very cool of you to hang out with me for a little bit here on a Sunday. I feel like it's the first Sunday in like 3 weeks. I did it last Monday because I was away on Sunday. But we're back here Sunday, playing some very interesting stuff, I feel. I hope you do as well. So this leads to the second progression that I did. I started off on A minor, and then I went to a G. I mean, you can play the G any way you want. You can go down here. But I kept it all in one area, just like I did the C progression, because I wanted to keep that easy scale to play C major. You know, or right here. All in one position. So it looks, you can see the chords inside that scale, which is really cool. So I did the same thing here with A minor. And then I went to a G, which is, here's a G chord. It's just it's a D shape, like this. Going back to these cage system shapes. Why is it a D shape? Look, it looks like a D chord, right? Here's a D. Your thumb here for that low third. We'll shift it all the way up here to G. Same thing. So here's the A minor. G chord. I think I played I played an F like this. Like a C-shape F. And then, which is the what is it? It's the 6. It's the flat 6 chord of here. Then I went to an E7 chord, which is the 5 chord. Don't let that see. Now, here's another thing. Here's a little something I'm adding in here without really adding it. Well, actually, I am adding it. Is that E minor? I'm changing to an E7 because you could do that. It's called a subdominant chord, or second. Actually, it's called a secondary dominant chord because it leads back to the A minor. Like that. So in this progression, here's the 1, which is the A minor. Then I'm going to a G, which is a 7 chord, but it's a flat 7 chord because it's not a. Everything is based around the major scale. Because if I was to play an A major scale, going down one would be a major seventh below. So that's really a 7. If you go down a minor 7 or a flat 7, that's what it's called. So if you're in a Nashville system or the numbering system, that's just how they call it. The G is a flat 7. And you can see those are capitalized Roman numerals, which means that it's a major. Whenever they're capitalized, that's major. When they're lowercase, they're minor. So it's a 7, which means that it's a major chord. And it's also flat, meaning you're to half step down the normal. Because if I was in A major, if I played a 7 chord, first of all, it wouldn't be major. It would be a minor 7 flat 5 chord. It'd be like this. Be like this. Just like if you look up on the key of C. Here's C. Look what the 7 is. It's small 7. It's a B diminished. It'll be like diminished. Like that. Scott Hall, do you do one-on-one lessons? One-on-one, I'm gonna give a guitar lesson. That was terrible. I don't really do one-on-one lessons too much, but I think about it. I'm not like saying I don't, will never do it. You can always reach out to me, send me an email, info@cherry, and see. Maybe we could do something. I've done them throughout my life, but I'm not serious about one-on-one guitar lessons. Just being honest with you right up front, but I'm not saying that I'm not interested in doing it. So great question. But if you are interested, send me an email, say hello, let me know what you're thinking about. info@cherry. It's the same thing, by the way, with all these graphs. If you want to copy a PDF of all these graphs, just email me, info@cherry, and I'll send you all these graphs we're working with today. And that'd be cool. But thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome of you to say. I am grateful to hear that. All right. That's why I do it. For you lovely people that enjoy it. You know what I mean? So hopefully we're understanding this so far. I just think it's and it's really so far with these C major and A minor, nothing has changed. If you look at the C major up top, look at the 6th chord, A minor. If you rotate that around, you're getting the A minor, that relative minor key that's on the bottom. Check it out. The 6th chord on top, A minor, then B diminished. Start the beginning. C, D minor, E minor, F, G. Now just look at the relative minor. A minor, B diminished, C, D minor. So you're just playing the same thing. On the A minor relative minor key graph, that 3rd chord is a C. So now if you keep going around, that's C major. It's the same thing. So nothing's changing. You're just starting in a different spot. Only now you're taking the A minor as the 1. So really nothing has changed here. You're still playing, you can say play the C major scale through this whole thing. You know what I mean? You're welcome. And that's God. So the chord progression that I did was the A minor to a G major to an F, which is the 6th chord now. But once again, it's major because it's capitalized right there. But it's flat 6, which means it's got that flat, it's starting here. Because once again, if I was in the key of C and I played the 6th chord, look, it would be a minor chord. A minor, it would be up here. Right there, a minor chord. Be an A minor, right there, right? Which is the 6th degree of the chord. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Major. That's when you start visualizing these intervals, that's a 6. Or here. But now in the key of E minor, the 6th degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a minor 6. So look at the shape. And it's not major, it's minor. And that's what makes up that chord, the F. So that's why they call it a flat big 6. Right there. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, just have to mute that for a second because I'm still getting over being sick. And we got to do what we got to do here, right? We're all human beings. We're all grown-ups, I think. Not us. We're not grown-up guitar players. So, I'm back. I had to mute it. Hopefully you can hear me again. I don't know what this technology today. It's a little screwy. Okay, so now we got that. But the one last thing before we move on to what is really, really cool, the parallel minor, is I want to show you that this is the last chord that I played was the 5 chord. So went 1 to a big 7, flat 7. Nope. 1, small little 1, right there, to the big 7, which is a G, F, big flat 6. Now let's check out what I did. I went to the 5, but instead of going to E minor, that would sound like this. Right? I mean, it doesn't set up that E minor. Doesn't set up. This one sets up better, E major, or E flat, E7. So now you have A minor, G, F, E7, back to A minor. So all I did was I took that E minor, because it's a 5 chord, and I made it in E7. And you could do that, it's legal. But what happens is it changes the scale a little bit. Because whereas the scale was completely A minor, when you change one note like that, the scale changes too. So the E, what note you're changing is you're making the G a G sharp to compensate, because an E minor has a G in it right there, the 3rd. But when I made it major, I brought it up. So now the scale has, instead of a G, has a G sharp. Sounds like this. That's called a harmonic minor, A harmonic minor. And it works really well over that E chord, and that makes a mode, technically. So even though you're playing A harmonic minor, you're really playing an E Phrygian dominant mode. And it sounds, like this. And then it goes, resolves nicely to the A. It's very basic right there, but there's terms for this stuff. And it's all about using your ear, that's right, but it's good to know what some of these modes are. And it's not a modes lesson, but we're just going to talk in terms right there. Very minor sounding for sure. Yeah. Especially when you go to the E minor. I'm sure there's uses to keep it minor like that, but most cases you hear this, right? And that's why this second progression that I had works very well over it. It's just the A minor scale. You can target what the chord tone, the G, the F of the scale. Now look, I could target the E major. Just for that one time. Now it's back to minor, the G. So all I did was play the notes of the A minor scale, except when we hit that E, I raised the 3rd of the E chord, made it a G sharp. So now it makes it an A harmonic minor. Okay, now we're going to get into the good stuff here. This is all good stuff. But we're going to do like a parallel minor, and that's where it's just beautiful things happen when you're talking about parallel. Look, we're thinking the same thing. I was thinking beautiful things happen before I even read your comment right there. Amazing, huh? Pretty cool. All right, what are you drinking out there today? I got my coffee, black, just like nitro jet fuel right here. It's just Italian espresso beans that I buy myself, whole beans, and I grind them up, and I use my pour over. A little, what do you call those things? Pour overs. There's a brand name for them. Celeste or something like that. I don't even know. I do that because it's apparently the healthiest. You don't wind up with any grinds at the bottom, which is, I guess, healthy for acidity and things like that. I hate making that noise, sorry, because I have to wind up editing that out later. So here we go. We're getting to the good stuff right now. Last but not least, we have, wow, it's like magic, C minor. Now, how does that even come into the equation right there? Because check out what C minor does, how it looks compared to A minor. It's the same function. It's the same grouping of the formula is the same. One, second chord is a diminished chord. We didn't even like talk about what all the chords are of that. So you know what? Real quick, let's do that with A minor right there. We have on A minor, you have the A minor chord, you have the B diminished chord like this, then you have the C major, you have the D minor, you have an E minor, or E7 if you want. You know, then you have the F, we played those chords, and the G. Back to A again. And all that is the C major scale starting on the 6th degree, which comes in handy to know that because that whole formula is based on the C major key starting on the 6th degree. Look, A minor, B diminished, C, going back to the beginning again, C, D minor, E minor, F, G. Look at that relative minor, A, B diminished, C, D minor, E minor, F, G. That's why when we go to the to this one, the parallel minor, it's the same principle, only we're doing it parallel, which means there's a definition here. Excuse me. Two or more coplanar. I didn't even read this yet, but here's the definition of parallel. Two or more coplanar straight lines that remain. Oh my God, what kind of words is it? You have to have an education to actually read this. Equidistant at all points and never intersect, even when extended indefinitely, which basically means, without these two words I've never even heard of before, two lines that run parallel with each other that never intersect each other. Parallel. Okay, and the C as well as the C minor is going to be parallel. So now the tonic remains the same. Instead of going to A minor, we're going to just drop it to C minor right there. So it's the same principle right here. Imagine what we did with A minor. Really cool right there. Let's just say hello to Haj right there. Hello, Haj. Very cool name. Reminds me of Merrill Haj, the old running back for my team for the Steelers. I don't know if you know anything about that. Steelers. That's my team. And, okay, so this is really something cool to wrap your head around because the C minor right there is really the same formula as the A minor right there, right now. Only we're doing it in C. So instead of all the chords we just played in A minor, which are like, you know, We took the A minor. We took the 7 chord, big 7. We took the big 6 chord. Then we made this a E7 right there. Well, now we can do the same thing with, we're just bringing the whole thing up, the C minor. So I can play that same progression. Look, C minor, here's the 1. I can play then the 7 chord right there, which is a B flat. 6 chord, A flat. 5 chord, G. Instead, or G minor. Right there. I can make that a 7 chord. See, that's all I did. But this is where the chords become interesting. Because before with the relative, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, and lots of hit songs were made using that. But we didn't really add any additional chords in there. You know, you can go from C to A minor all day and share chords and stuff, but it's the same notes of the scale. Now we're just taking the key of C, because that's where we are, the tonic of C major. Now we're playing at C minor. Pretty cool, right? And that's how I came up with the third chord progression. It wasn't directly in C minor, which you can just came up with progression in C minor. I just did. I made it the same thing as the A minor. C minor. But this third progression, what I did was I just created this. I picked and chose chords from the C major key and the C minor key. I just chose, I just picked some keys. I mixed and matched them. What did I do? Check it out. C chord. And then I took A minor from the C minor, the flat 6 chord. Then I took the D diminished 2 chord. Then I took the 5 chord that leads back to the C from the C right there. So check it out. The top is key of C. I use the C, the 1 chord. Now right here, I use the flat 6 chord, A flat, and I use the 2 chord from the C minor, D minor, and I use G, which is back to C again, right there. So essentially, here's what I did. I used the C major, because it starts off really happy. I mean, look, what a contrast from this to my first progression, which was a C, F, G, C. I mean, that's vanilla, that's like, you know, Swiss cheese, that's Wonder Bread, if I've ever heard it. C major scale. And that's C major scale all day. But you could take, just by borrowing a couple of chords from the C minor parallel minor, look what you can get. I just took the 1 chord from the C major, and I could take any one of those chords from the C minor parallel. And I chose A flat, and I went. Because now I'm in minor. Now the scale turns to minor. Like before, when I was hitting C, I could play the C major scale. But once I hit that new chord, I am out of the key of C, C major, and I'm in C minor. Because this chord is a chord of C minor. It's the 6 chord, the flat 6 chord, like we've discussed already, related to C minor. So when I go to that chord, I could just change to C minor. Just like that. So now from C major, C minor. Right? And now I'll go to a third chord, because we don't want to keep it so boring with just 2 chords there. So I added a third chord, but I kept it from the C minor parallel, which is D minor. Look, I went to the 2 chord. It's a D diminished chord. So I went to D diminished. Just like this. That's a D minor 7 flat 5. But you can play it like this, whatever. It's just easier. I didn't play any 7th chords, but that's the next level. You're just adding the 7th degree. It's really easy. It changes nothing except for one of the notes you're adding. Look what it adds here. Here's a 1 flat 5 octave 3rd, or 1 flat 5 7th. Yeah, it's cool sounding, but it's not necessary for this. That's the 2 chord of C minor, and then I went to a G, which is the 5 chord of the key of C. A G chord. You could play G7, which leads really nicely back to there. Kind of like that E7 added. Went to there, a G7. But I didn't even play that, I just played a G. Because you could hear that once you go back to here. So the whole progression sounded like this. C, A flat, D, diminish, G, back to C. Just that easy. And the progression, if I want to solo over it, C major, C minor, still in C minor, back to G7, that's C. I get a little more targeted C. When it goes to A flat 7, here's the chord, target notes. The D, G, D, So, pretty cool stuff. So automatically right there, I took the C major scale, just changed a couple of chords right there, and it opens up the doors for, you know, making your solos or compositions or songwriting a little bit more interesting. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you like that so far. Oh, let me go back here and read this comments right here from Scott. Yes, when you're targeting your solos over chords, is it safe just to land on the root notes of the chord being played at the time? Absolutely. That's the safest thing that you could do. Because in this progression right here, you know, C, A flat, D. I mean, these are weird chords in a way. I got a D diminish, back to a G. So if I'm soloing right there over the C, staying on the C, and here's what switches to a C minor. But look, here's that chord right there. Here's the chord right in the middle of the scale. So here's the major C major scale. I could see the chord. I could see the root notes. You're safe with those notes every time. Now, when I went to that second chord, here it is. Here's an A, C-shaped chord. Here's an A flat major chord, and here's the C minor scale. Here's that chord right in the middle of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There, it's a 6. That's a C. That's an A minor chord. Just with that shape. Here's the bar chord version of it. There's that shape though. There's so many. It's 5 shapes, just like the cage system of these chords. Here's another one. Here's another one. G shape, every shape. But what's cool about this is that it's right in the middle of that scale. So if you knew just the minor scale, here's the note. So when it goes to that chord, I could just target that note. You know? Or play an arpeggio. I'm targeting. There's the note right there. And then when I go to the D, right there, look, I don't have to really think or change too much. I know it's still in C minor. Here's the D. And by playing that D, I'm targeting that root note. There it is again, D. But look what it has. It has that flat note. That's why I did that cool little lick. I thought it was cool like this. You know, emphasizing. Ooh, that was weird. Right there. Some alternate picking going. And then went to the G. G7 or just the G chord. I know I'm going back to C major. Right there. So I can play the C major scale again, targeting the the G note, but in the major scale. And on the target note, or end on the root. Like the C. So here, even without the music and everything, you'll hear them targeting these notes, C. Just like that. So I think that stuff is pretty cool. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I go live every Sunday, except when I'm touring and I'm coming back on Sunday. Then I go on Monday, which is what's going to happen next week. Just to throw that out there real quick. It'll be on Monday. Hopefully you could join me. I'll be flying home from St. Louis, Missouri on Sunday, so it's going to be on President's Day, the 16th, next week, next Monday, 12 o'clock. Hopefully you could join me then. So any questions about this stuff, let me know. I think this is pretty cool. And like I was saying, if you want a copy of this PDF, I'll make a PDF of these graphs. It's just basic graphs, which is like this. Here's me, very small, here in the background. Just so that the graph is a little clearer. So I can send that to you. Or individual graphs broken up and down. Like that. So, but any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I think this is pretty cool stuff. Lots of target notes in there. But, you don't have to really focus and go too crazy on it. It's really just 2 scales. I played C major and I played C minor. And I also play A minor, if you want to look at the relative minor there as well. So, having some fun here. You have any Super Bowl plans for later? Or are you going to just sit home and practice this all day? But I got my telly broken out here. I don't really take this one on the road too much because I'm afraid of the single coil pickups really being too noisy for the situation, but it really plays great. I mean, I love the jumbo frets on this. It makes it so much easier to bend and to play. Hosh has a question here. The C minor is parallel to A minor because the C minor is relative to A major. It's true. I mean, it is. Technically, it's parallel to it, but it's also parallel to C. The C minor, wait, let me bring it up for everyone, for the world to see here. The C minor is parallel to A minor because the C minor is relative to A major. Oh, it's with a question. Well, for the first part, C minor is parallel to A minor. Only because they're, no, I'm sorry. That's not the case. C minor and A minor is not parallel because they're not on the same tonic. The C and the C minor are parallel because it's starting on the same root note. In order for it to be parallel with each other, you have to start the scales on the same exact degree, the same notes. A minor and C minor are not the same notes. It's the same formula, but it's shifted. You know what I mean? It's like, if you look at it like, here's A minor, here's C minor. They're moving the same exact direction, but they're two different notes. A minor, C minor. Same formula, 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4. Now, parallel would have to be like this way, moving at the same thing, starting at the same place, like this. That's where C and C minor come into play, because now you have both of them moving at the same area, right there. Just like this chart shows right there. C and C minor, you know, if you take that one out, you'll see that, look at the notes. It starts on C, both of them, and then you have the 2 chord. See, the thing, what changes is because the formula of C minor is slightly different. C major has whole, half, whole, half, because you have those notes C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. On the bottom you have C, D diminished. It's the same root note, but the chord changes because of the notes. Now look, the E flat, it's still an E, but it's a flat because it's the minor third. The F is the same, the G is the same, the A is now flat. It's not an A natural minor, it's A flat, and the B is flat as well too. Because what the difference is between C and C minor is that the third is flat, the sixth is flat, and the seventh is flat. Otherwise, it's a major scale. Now, to go to the second part of your question, I believe, and hopefully I can come up with some kind of answer for you right there, is because the C minor is relative to A major, or E major. Well, let's see. First of all, the C minor is relative to E flat. And I'll show you right now why it is. Just like the A minor is relative to C major. Right? A minor, C major. C minor is relative to E flat. Because look, here's the third chord. Look at the C minor, E flat. Look at A minor, the third 3 chord is C. The 3 chord is always going to be the relative major, just like the 6 chord of C is relative minor. So A minor's relative, A minor's relative is C major. So therefore, C minor relative is E flat. Look, I'm just going up. Like I was saying, it's going up parallel with each other, but it's not starting on the same root note. So A to C major is the same thing, the C minor, E flat. I'm going up the minor third. Nope, right here. Now that would be cool, pretty cool progression too, to hear like that. A minor. Something interesting like that. But it's E flat. Okay, so not A major, because there's no A in there. If you look at it, if you look at C, look at the chords of C, you'll see that it's A flat that's in there. And also, it's E flat. Ah, okay. E flat major. Right. So looking at this graph just makes sense for you. C going to the third chord is E flat major. And there it is. So you could play the E flat major scale. Like, look, if I go over the second progression, the A minor progression, I play C. But no, actually I don't have a progression that's like that. But the third progression, once I go to C, the minor chords, I could play the E flat major scale. So I could switch between C major to E flat major. Because E flat major and C minor are the same thing. Check it out. Just got to be careful on the 5 chord. Actually, no, you don't, because I'm going to G. So check it out. Watch this. C major, E flat major, C major, but now you want an A flat, right? Where's the D? So I'm just trying to target a little bit of notes right there. So it's really, you know, what's the expression? 12 or a dozen? It's the same thing, something like that. What is that old expression? 12 or a dozen or 12, I don't know. It's the same thing, essentially. When I go to the, from the C chord to this A flat chord, I'm going to C minor. Or if I go to E flat major, it's the same thing, it's the relative major. So it's the same notes. So as you can see, when I went to the second time when I went to that E flat major, I could also target the notes that are in there. I went to an A flat chord, because the chord always rules right there, right? So where is we figured out where the A flat major is in the C minor scale. It's right there. Well, where is it in this scale? Right? Here it is right there. Like C major. Here's right here, E major. So it's the same scale. You know what I mean? Right there. A flat. D. Back to C. That's the cool thing about that. It's like you're taking a lot of half-step movement that really color up the music. Because look, minor notes. E flat major makes the C minor, because that's the minor note. If I'm playing this scale right here. So now when I know I'm going back to C major, I know it's an E. So I can play around those notes, the E flat and the F. Look, and there. Back to C. It's like this progression, that's what I'm doing. I'm just toying around those notes, C major. Look right next to it. So it's really cool to be able to, it's a little jazzy, you know, because you're not just playing straight pentatonic scales or major scales. You're switching between some scales. But see, the cool beauty of this is that you're setting up the notes. Like I know that I'm in E flat minor, E flat major right there. So I have that note right there, and I know I'm getting ready to play back to C. So I'm kind of touring around the area. So when I do hit that third of the chord, it's like, wow, it's like. It's like a nice resolve right there, and it sounds right. I think it sounds right, because it is right. So, all right. Okay, E flat major. All right, well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I think we had a good time, you know. Met some new people up here. I'm not sure, Scott, if you've been here before, but I really appreciate you. Right there, I know you guys have been here before. Haj and Jeffrey Boyle, of course, and Scott, thank you very much for popping in. Everyone who's popped in here with me today on a regular Sunday. And thank you very much. Like I was saying, if you want a copy of these graphs that I created here today, just email me info@cherry, and I'll put together a PDF for you. And remember, guys, be cool, be kind, and be cherry. I'm going to put another video right up there that's very helpful, and it's the beginning stages going back to what we're doing here today, and it's learning the 7 diatonic chords of a key, which is really, really, really cool and helpful today. So I'll put that up there for you, right up there. So love yous. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Monday, President's Day, the 16th. Enjoy your Super Bowl and everything, and I love yous. Peace. Ciao.